Hello and welcome from Seoul, South Korea. We are back again for our weekly webcast. Today, we're going to be talking about how you can use LinkedIn to grow your network. And I've got on the line Semin, Hassan, and Jose with me. Good morning, everybody, and good evening in Boston.
Good evening.
Good morning.
So lately, we've actually been very active on LinkedIn ourselves. And I'd like to open up one of the biggest proponents for us to really improve our own LinkedIn strategy and grow has been Jose. So I'd like to open up by asking Jose to just talk a little bit of, why is it important to build your profile and network on LinkedIn today?
Okay. Well, I would say certainly today more than ever, because of the situation we find ourselves in where everything is happening online. Now, in the United States, especially LinkedIn was very big. I had noticed just in the last 2 years that the Korean presence has started to increase pretty substantially. And where once you might see a profile without a photograph and almost nothing, just a name and an employer, now you're seeing a more full profile. And what happens with LinkedIn is just like with any other social media, is that it provides not just a social networking interaction, but there's a lot of good content that people put on LinkedIn, a lot of professional content. And I know we ourselves here amongst us, we share some of the content that we find in LinkedIn, an article, a video that we find extremely useful. So I think that it's a great source of valuable and business content too. That's the great thing about it. Typically, it's very much a business related content. And in our case, we, the whole team here at Lighthouse, we're always looking at marketing and networking and science and technology and startups, and those topics will show up in our feed because of our preferences and our follows.
Now, what do you think? Because you said it quite well, that it's mostly a business network focusing on business content. So what would you say is the benefit, let's say, for a consumer company that sells, for example, personal care or cosmetics or lifestyle items for the home? Maybe they find most of their customers through Instagram. Why would a company like that want to join LinkedIn?
Well, and that's a great point, that a company might want to have as its primary target another form in another platform. So let's say maybe Instagram, and that works great. That's the audience, that's the demographic, that might work perfectly. What I think LinkedIn ads would add to that type of proposition is, let's call it the more serious angle of the business, right? You have your products, you have your flashy photographs, you have your really nicely made displays or professionally taken product photographs and so on and so forth. And in LinkedIn, you can have the story. You can have some of the people that have influenced you. You can connect with those people. You can be part of another network of other cosmetics companies, other consumer products companies, other furniture companies, because they're all on LinkedIn as well. So it provides kind of both sides. Mm-hmm.
I also want to add, for if you want to build professional partnerships, or if you want to find distributors, you're not going to find distributors or like partners in Instagram. I mean, you might, but that's not the business setting you're looking for. You're looking for customers, right? So you have a different setting, even though your target or your focus customers are on LinkedIn. The people that you want to have business with to grow that customer base will be on LinkedIn. So you can have more talks about, hey, I'm looking for some like a technology alpha that I know you guys have. Is someone out there who has that technology, or does someone have the production capabilities that I need to enter a certain market? So those kind of networks that can grow in LinkedIn.
And those kinds of conversations will not happen in Instagram. Instagram is not meant for, let's call it serious conversation or business discussion. Really, LinkedIn is much better suited for that. another thing that's really important, and this applies to every social
If you
media.
DM to Instagram, that'll be. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, I missed that one. Say that again.
So if you send DM to investor through Instagram, it'll be so weird. But yeah, LinkedIn, they all have the anticipation, so expectation.
Yeah. Right. And that actually is exactly kind of where I was going, which is that we all love, this is just like almost like this reward mechanism that we all have. We all love when someone comments on our post. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. You know, when we put something and somebody writes something, I mean, a lot of people will like it, put the little heart. You know, that's great. And you're like, we like that. Ooh, I have 45 likes. But when somebody puts a thoughtful comment, I think that has, you know, so much more meaning. And in LinkedIn, you know, this is one way to help build your network, because you read someone's post, you read it, the whole thing, right? Not just the headline. If there's a video, you watch the video. If there's an article, you read the article. And then you post a comment, and the comment shows that you read and that you watched and that you thought about it and that you have something to say. And, you know, people will, I've had, I don't know how many requests for connections I've had precisely because of that. You know, I made a comment, and then the next day I have such and such wants to be a connection with you. I'm like,
Now
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now let's go to the other extreme, and rather than consumer companies, now let's say that I'm building a company that is going to be commercializing a new technology for power plants, and our life cycle to enter the market is something like pilot project in 4 years, first plant in 10 years, and maybe the company's up and running with 10 customers after I retire. So I think founders with these type of technologies, they usually, the idea is, well, I don't need social media for this. This is so slow. What would you say to that?
Oof. Well, that social media precisely is like the fastest way to connect and to move information and move knowledge. So, you know, it's, and you could argue it costs something, but really it is free. There's a cost to everything, but it can be free publicity for you. I mean, who doesn't want free publicity? It's, you know, it's people fight to get eyes on their product, on their service, on their story. And this is one way to do it with relatively minimal investment of time and money. So why not? And if that's your, so let me share my screen for a second here, so I can to make that point. So let's say, okay, so we're talking about power. All right. Okay. Everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me see. I'm interested in power. Okay. Here we go. Here's a company. Here's a Finnish company. And they post all about power plants, biomethane, and even just following this company would be of value to me. You know, and if somehow I connect with them, wow, fantastic. You know, they're yeah, here we get Nordic. Yeah, so we got Nordic Innovation. Oh, what's this? Nordic Innovation Funds. Public policy. Maybe I'm interested in them. I'll take a look who they are, and then, you know, you get into this the productive rabbit hole that you know, is the other way in YouTube, right? You go into that rabbit hole and you end up watching rabbit videos. I don't know. This, at least you end up watching something about climate action, you know. Oh, wait a minute. Nordic Michigan House, Tokyo. Okay, you know what? I'm going to start following these people, right? I mean, just for the valuable content I may have. But back to my point about commenting. So let's take a look at these people here. Lighting Up Ventures. Okay. Virtual Summit, Korea. Today's the second day. The Science and Technology Office. Oh, who is this Science and Technology? Oh, you know, I'm following them actually. Look at that. Yes, of course I'm following them. But so they had we had a workshop today. Let's say I'm just somebody who is looking to connect with a startup system in Korea, with the Swiss startup system. I'm not gonna stop here. I'm gonna see what else is here. Come on, take a few more seconds. Okay, here we go. Okay, oh, this sounds great. You know what? I'm gonna register. Of course, it's already passed, but let's say you could register for it. That's another form of networking, registering to events, participating in the Q&A. That leads to a whole other set of even more direct connections. And then, of course, I like it. Now take the next step, right? That was a great event today. I wasn't able to participate in the let's see, in all presentations, but I look forward to hearing more. There we go. There's a post. Okay. Doesn't take a lot of brain power to do this, but this has meaning. It has value. It has a lot of networking value. Next thing you know, these people are contacting you, and you participate in their workshops, and you start building your network, and you meet a startup that you end up working with, or that you end up supporting, or a company, and so on and so forth. And that's how things happen. So,
and just backtracking a little bit on that point about something like energy and infrastructure. At first pass, it might seem like, why would energy and infrastructure be on social media? But then when you think about it, and as I was looking at that page that you just showed us, I realized, you know what? Because they're sitting around at their desk all day long. It's such a slow-moving market. And the second thing that you made me realize is that it is a very conservative market, and it's a market that's very difficult to do business in. And those companies that do have a social media page are probably doing so actively and purposefully to give a point of contact to someone who would want to come in and find a way to work with them, whether it's through recruiting individuals or finding other companies to partner and do business with. I'm going to share my screen now because I want to show my profile. One of the things that I'm working on right now is to understand a little bit more about impact metrics. And I was on the phone a few months ago with my brother because he works in investment. And I asked him, hey, so is there any talk about impact metrics in the United States? And he was like, oh, you got to look up a company called Calvert. The CEO is really big about that. And so I literally went here and I typed Calvert. And there we go, Calvert Impact Capital, Calvert Education. And that's how this rabbit hole started for me as well, to start reading into who they are, what they do, what projects they execute. Calvert Impact Capital is a fund that is connected to Calvert Research and Management, which is an advisory service. Reading through who they are and what they do and how they operate to move actual funds from investors led me to the Sustainability Accountings and Standards Board, which are what they have. And then that led me to an FSA credential. And then that led me to something that I'm working on now that I've actually been interacting back on LinkedIn with people with. And now I know that if I want to find interesting things, I can search for things such as SASB, and they show up. And by knowing what this is and looking at people who are interacting, I've started having conversations with professionals in sustainability investing. And this is opening an interesting opportunity that we're not yet ready to talk about, talking to a fund here in Korea that actually might help us implement some of these ideas. And all of this happens through having these genuine conversations, either directly on the platform or you have them a little bit offline bring them into the platform. And what would have taken me, I don't know, months or years, in a week, I was able to just go in and get a quick mapping of something that's interesting. And I'm 2 to 3 months into implementing, and it's actually leading to opportunities now.
Mhm. Yeah.
If you want to
Great.
picking up those connections, the people or the companies in person, that will cost your money and your time a lot. So you have to jump into a networking party or something, and you have to find exact person you are looking for, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also I think the introductions and the interesting part. So LinkedIn has your profile and they share the content you've either posted, commented, or liked. So that gives you like the credentials and like the background of what you're trying to do and what you're interested in. If you meet in person, like what Hasan said, you have to say hi, introduce yourself, talk a little bit about what your background is, what you're interested in. And then in the situation where it's not too loud, where people are not comfortable, people are comfortable enough to talk about those issues, and then you have to network with them after the event.
So Hasan, I got a question for you now, because it's great. You go, you post, you become active, you learn things, you connect with people.
Yeah.
How do you then begin doing sales? How do you do social selling on LinkedIn? How do you cross that chasm from this is great and it's nice and inspiring to, and by the way, there's something here you might want to pay for?
Yeah. So it's like when you want to start talking to people and try to sell something, you have to know that person or the company a lot, and there's very limited information on their just website. But if you can find the person, that person's profile on LinkedIn, then you can get a lot of things to start talking about them. So that helps a lot. And then you can just start like commenting or liking them or following them, or just send a connection. And then you can start chatting about it. And then, hey, we have this content, so you can find out what they are interested in. Then you can send your relevant content for them, for their to their service or product. Then you can like really picking up the moments.
And when or how do you know it's the right time to just quite literally make a sales pitch? Do you make a sales pitch directly on LinkedIn, or is there something else you got to do?
Well, I think I would say you have to interact more to start the sales pitch. You can just ask them to follow your but I think that's not. Have you Samuel, what about you? Have you ever started to talk like directly about like to start sales pitch?
Yeah, so in my case, I think you made a good point. So going a little bit back to what you were saying is like content and seeing the interactions. I would call that like qualification. So are people interested enough for me to go in and offer what we do as professional service or product? So you have to qualify it, looking at how they interact. If they just see our content and just go by, probably they're not interested enough or yet. So we have to wait until we can develop some more interesting content. But like what Jose did, like liking, sharing, and then commenting, they're probably more interested. So you have to go and figure out what they want. Do they want to buy from us, or do they just want to promote because it's not specifically what they need for them, but it's good to refer to someone else. Going back to how do you actually transition to that sell is like what Hasan said, you contact them directly, see what they need. So you don't go in, hey, by the way, $3.99, you get the best product in the world. You don't go directly. You figure out with a personal conversation, like a one-on-one chat or through email, or what we recommend is call, right? So you get to the message. It's best to try to get their contact information, set up a call, and then start talking about what they need, and then introduce what we offer as a service. Another pro tip in there is to be a little bit upfront of what you're trying to do. So a little bit upfront of this is the service we are providing. What do you need? Is there anything we can do to help? Which is one, we can sell you the service, or two, we can share more interesting content related to what you need.
Yeah, so the LinkedIn can help you a lot to find quality leads. But I think if you have if you already find out that they're interested in your service, then I think, yeah, it's time for just go for sales pitch, because they would never like tell bad thing to you. They'll just like, okay, I look for to hear it more, or just I'll decide, and then you can just tell them like, if you need more information, just can we have a quick call? Then they'll say yes.
Yeah. Another thing is we've looked into our profile page, like the company profile page. We looked at a couple just a while ago, and they all have like this button. We call it the call to action button, right? It says view home. And there's a headline on top of that, like a simple line. Let me share my screen. I can actually show that really quickly. Give me one sec. Okay. I'm just going to, okay, so here we can see I'm viewing as a member, so you can see like visit website. One thing that could be really clear is to have something in here that links to your homepage, where it has, where you can actually, where people can see what you're offering. So have a link that it might, so depending on what your needs are in terms of what you want to do in LinkedIn. So we were talking about having sales or building partnerships. If you want to build partnerships, this link should go into what kind of people you're looking for. If you're actually actively selling on LinkedIn, this site should go straight to your product or service. A small thing to add.
So I think that you make a really good point there, and that's that it's really hard to do direct sales and direct pitching. People can tend to tune that out. Being interesting and then making it easy for people to discover what you do and to engage in the right behavior that makes you realize, hey, this person is interested because they put their contact information on my website after having clicked on LinkedIn. And then that's something that really works. So don't underestimate the power of your own headline and your own banner on your personal profile and on your company page as display advertising, right? And everything else gets people to look at that one big display that when they click, they're like, oh, I see what you do. All right, I don't need that right now, but I know that you're there. And whenever they're ready for it, they know how to find you and they know exactly what it is that they can hire you for.
To make it noticeable, I'm sorry.
Tessan, I'll let you have the last word. Okay. That's all the time that we have for today. So I'll let you finish this session with that last thought that you're having. You can get that.
Okay.
The parting thought for today is all yours.
To make it noticeable, you gotta have some credibility on your personal profile. That'll be the first page that people look through your company. So you have to have your proper picture, not like, Jose, what do you think about that picture? Like people having
like sometimes having one of those cell phone pictures in your car, really, come on. Put a little, there's portrait mode and there's special effects, there's a lot. A little more effort into it, and we were talking about this earlier. How the profile picture is part of the mission, part of the advertising, part of the strategy. I have a certain mission, therefore my picture will reflect that. We were joking that Semin changed his profile picture. So how come? How come you changed it?
I mean, because. One reason is because I became a mentor for one of the centers here in Seoul, and well, they had the courtesy of taking a photo, but also the credibility, right? I also had a photo that was taken from my iPhone in portrait mode, so I had some effort there. I changed the background so it doesn't look all in like a random place, but also there's a difference between that and an upgrade to like a studio photo.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, great. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. So in summary, have a great profile pic. Use your banner space and header links as display advertising for what you do, what you provide, and then, be interesting, contribute interesting content and interact with other people's content so that you can grow your network and grow your visibility. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you all for today's session, and I'll see you again next week.
And see you on LinkedIn.
See you on LinkedIn, right? See
And
you in
follow
5
us
minutes on LinkedIn. See you on video next week.
Yep.
All right. Bye.
Bye.